Hello everyone. Sorry, I'm a little late and looking a little frazzled. My PC so rarely ever crashes. I didn't expect that to happen, and then I had to scramble to try and get everything working. Hi, welcome in everyone. That song that is playing in the intro screen is "Monster" by the Eastern Plain. Oh, someone already answered it. It's on Epidemic Sound. And it's very good. Hi. Yes. So another thing I discovered in my panic as my game crashed, or not my game, my whole PC crashed, is that the amazing folks over at Choice of Games gave me the whole game instead of just giving me the demo. So I can't play the demo. So and I already checked with my boss. There is a huge possibility you might see a little extra here that you wouldn't normally see in the demo, but I guess we'll find out as we play. So I got the whole game. That was a mistake, but it's cool. It's all cool, man. Hi, I'm Huddy. I'll be your storyteller this evening, except I won't be because I keep storyteller mode off when I play Choice of Games. I love Choice of Games. They're maybe my one of, if not my favorite product that comes out of the World of Darkness. And I know very little about any of the games because I like to be surprised because shocker, I'm a huge fan of everything. So all I know about this game is that the author is Paul Wong, and they're Canada based, and the game takes place in Vancouver. That's all I know, and that's all I want to know. Yeah, and I don't need the tutorials. I've played every single Choice of Games game. That's a language I don't know. Is it Latin? Is it Italian? I think it's Italian. Yeah, looks like Italian to me. Hi. The crisis consists precisely in the fact that the old is dying and the new struggles to be born, and this interregnum appears a time of monsters. Antonio Gramsci, Prison Notebooks. That definitely looks. I don't think I have no, I don't have the grayscale mode or dark mode yet, which would be fantastic. Maybe the demo has it. I don't have it. I'm sorry. And the white screen on my face makes me look like a sickly Victorian child, which that's what I look like normally, but it's just a little bit extra with also my light behind it. So maybe if I turn my own light down, I'll look less like I'm actively dying on your screen as you watch. Prologue. Peering into the abyss, you wake to light stabbing through the darkness and to the harsh voices of shouting men as they drown out the low hiss of rain against the flimsy plastic of your tent. The hard ground sends spikes of pain up your back as you struggle to pull yourself up. Your thoughts thrash against the fugue of an interrupted sleep like drowning hands against a weighted net as you pull at the chaos suddenly exploding around you. Slowly, too slowly, your mind and body begin to answer. You push yourself upright as the voices outside cohere into words which hit you like the blade of a shovel to the base of your neck. The imagery already is so good. Police! This is an illegal encampment on city property and will be dismantled. Do not... Well, you're sure as fuck aware now. You haven't lived out here long enough to get raided yet, but you've been warned about it enough times to know what happens. They'll detain you for questioning just long enough for all your stuff to be gone when you come back. Your tent, your money, every last relic that you could salvage from your past life. They'll release you with only the clothes on your back and leave you to die. Unless you grab what you can save and get out of here now. So, look for my government ID. Fuck the government! I think, and this is not just because I'm a fat girl, I think what I would do is... Okay, so I'm of two minds here. My first thought was to take any food that I have left, but also there is a chance that I could get food later somewhere, stealing it or otherwise, or, you know, soup kitchens, anything really. And I feel like, although I just said fuck the government literally just a second ago, I feel like I might need my government ID, especially if I don't escape from the police. They might actually want to see it. They might get in more trouble if I don't have one. So I think I'm gonna pick that one, even though I don't really want to. But I think I will. In the tiny cramped tent filled with clutter, looking for a little plastic card might as well, yeah, I'm also an idiot, so might as well be like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but you do have your ID on you. It might seem meaningless at a time like this, but without a job, a car, a fixed address, or even a phone number, is the only proof you can give to the world that you're still a human being who exists. And more importantly, it's the only way you're going to be able to access government benefits or healthcare. I actually also don't know like exactly how the structure of the government is set up in Canada. That's a real important point as well. I know America and I know Germany. That's about it. But it is so goddamn dark, and your tent is so full of things that feel like useless, pointless shit now. You dig through it with a frantic urgency that the cops outside would be hard-pressed to match, sending cans of food and bags of trash rattling through your tiny fabric home until you find it. Your provincial ID card. Right, Canada has provinces. I do know that. A lifeline you can ill afford to abandon. The lights are getting brighter, the voices are getting louder. Now among them, you can hear the cries of protest from the people who you guess you could have considered your neighbors, and the clatter and rattle of their life's possessions being spilled out onto the ground by the cops. They'll be at your tent soon. You have to hurry the fuck up. Okay, I get another thing. I feel like I should take money, but also, nah. Should I take a knife? For stabbing purposes? Canada-based game? Yeah. This is the second actually Canada-based game from Choice of Games. I believe, and I don't remember what part, Toronto? Ontario? Vampire the Masquerade Parliament of Knives was also based in Canada. So this is the second one, which I'm excited about. Oh God, I'm really trying to think. I'm trying to be strategic, which is not something I do when I play these games. I usually just do whatever I think would be the most hilarious. But okay, I'm trying to be, the strategery is coming. All right, so if I get a knife and I get caught, which is probably going to happen, they might, depending on what the laws are in Canada, they might be upset that I have a knife, and they might, be really pedantic and sort of pull out something and see that the blade is too long legally or whatever. A sleeping bag is probably a good one. But that might be too bulky, might weigh me down in the escape. Money also is whatever. As someone who's been homeless, oftentimes money is never mind. I'm not going to talk about that. And then food. Food is also something, is sort of in the same vein as money. Easier to get. So this is really, really difficult. I might be able to hide the knife better. But I might be on the run and I might not be anywhere I can get food. I'm just going to take food. I'll just take food. I can't think about it anymore. As fast as you can go through your belongings looking for any food you can find. In your old life, you would have probably looked at the expiry dates, thrown out anything that looked or smelled off. Now you don't even have a spare glance. Nope. No, you don't even spare a glance as you shove any can or filled box that you can into your backpack. Expired food will still keep the hunger pangs at bay, and even if it makes you sick to your stomach, it'll still keep you alive. Yeah, I don't have enough context of where we are and the situation outside of this immediate one that we're in to make really great decisions right now. The sound of your tent being unzipped stops you mid-breath. Shit, they're here. You have just enough time to look up before the brilliant radiance of a flashlight beam floods your eyes. Your eyes strain to make out anything behind the brilliant glare of the light, but all you can see of the figure behind it is the faint outline of a head, a hand, and the chunky shape of a police-issue stab vest. Police-issue stab vest. Okay, is that like a Kevlar vest but against knives? Okay, stay calm, keep in mind what my rights are, and ask if I'm free to go. Sure, let's try that. Sure, that'll work. You stare directly into the flashlights, because we all know the police will definitely follow the law to the letter, as they always do, right? Not me being sarcastic in any way. Resisting every urge to flinch away, doing everything you can to block out the incessant thudding of your racing heart. I formally invoke my rights, oh my goodness, under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, you begin, trying to keep your voice as steady and calm as possible. It doesn't matter if you get the statement right or in the right order. All that matters is that you keep calm, don't panic, and try to sound as self-assured, as confident as possible. I will not be detained without charge, and I will not speak on the record without legal counsel present. But the cop doesn't back away. Instead, he does what seems like the exact opposite. He steps forward, lowering his flashlight as he reaches out with his other hand. Hey, it's all right, he says, his voice like soft velvet. You're not under arrest. You're not in trouble. We just want to ask you some questions. Is that okay? You suppose that's him trying to be friendly, pretending like you have a choice. For all the rights you're supposed to have under the law, you're still a homeless kid. Oh God, I'm a kid? In the middle of the night. And he's still with a badge and a gun. I assumed I was an adult. So you nod. It's not like you'll be allowed to do anything else. So that makes that makes that makes my decision for taking food a little bit less strange. The cop leads you out of your tent past the tumble-down shapes of the encampment. In the distance, you can already see other police officers taking tents down and shaking them out like pillowcases. They toss anything that comes out into bags as if it were garbage or hazardous waste. In the beam of a distant flashlight, you see plastic bags, cans of food, a scrapbook, a tattered handbag, someone's life to be disposed of forever. Hey, don't worry about that, the cop says. I'll make sure all of your belongings get returned to you. Again, you're not in any trouble. This is just some basic police procedure we need to get through. There's no need to get nervous. Is there, though? As you follow him away from the jumble of tents and the chaos of the raid, a voice can't help but whisper in the back of your head that this all seems a little too easy. You've had your run-ins with police before, and you can't help but shake the slick, ominous feeling that he's being a little too accommodating, a little too friendly. That he's up to something, and that you won't like what it is. Yeah. Don't trust the coppers? Yeah. Basically, they say kid, but like maybe we're like a young, like a 19, 20-year-old in a homeless encampment. And the police are raiding it for reasons we do not know, outside of the fact that they're just there to serve the whims of whatever the local law is, which is usually we don't want homeless people on our stuff, amongst other things. You can trust me, I'm an armed agent of the state. You know, it's for the same reason why, you know, benches back in the day, at least back when I was a kid, you know, were just benches you could sit at, like at a park. And now they make these, even here in my city in Germany, they make these benches that like it's almost impossible to sit on just regularly. And they're designed with the explicit intent so that you can't sleep there if you happen to be unhoused. You know, it's just awesome stuff like that. I'm very sarcastic. This has to be some kind of setup. It has to be, obviously. You're not sure what this cop's deal is. You're not sure what his intentions are or what his motives are. All you know is that people are only nice to strangers when they're worried about what the stranger thinks of them. And there's no way a cop would care about what you think under normal circumstances. He's got all the power here and he knows it. So if he's treating you with kid gloves, then it's because he wants something from you, something he can't just easily take. And you're not sure you want to be around to find out what it is. Okay. Yep. Okay, well, I don't want to do anything. Again, I also have no idea if cops in Canada carry guns. Cops here in Germany, which is unusual here in Europe, the cops here in Germany carry guns. That's not the norm in other European countries. So I actually don't know. So I want to just, you know, stay calm, please. Let's not do anything. Because the last time I played a hunter game, when I played Beast of Glenkildove, which takes place in Ireland, excellent game, I Leroy Jenkins myself and died pretty early, so I don't want to do that. You take a deep breath, letting the cool, damp air into your lungs, then pushing it back out again. You might be headed for a bad time, but the worst you can do right now is start panicking. If things go sideways, you need to have a clear head to make the right decisions, and you can't do that if you're too busy hyperventilating. No, you gotta stay cool, stay collected, look over your options, and don't do anything you might regret. My best strengths, honestly. They do carry guns. Well, exactly. So let's just all stay cool, everybody. All on-duty cops carry guns. Okay. When I tell people, because I'm in Europe, when I tell people that Germany, the cops carry guns, like if I tell like my Swedish coworkers, they're like, "That's crazy," because they don't over there. This is great. I'm so excited. The encampment is far behind you now. Oh wow, why are they taking us so far away? The encampment is far behind you now, the noise and the beams of flashlights fading into the darkness as you cross the last of the park green. The smell of wet grass and rain is joined by the stink of spilled oil, rotting food, and other things you really don't want to think about as the soles of your battered shoes cross from soft turf to cracked and crumbling concrete. Under the yellow glare of the street lamps, you at last get a good look at your what? Counterpart? Interrogator? Captor? He looks young, way too young to be a cop. If you'd run into him on the street, you think he was fresh out of high school or one of those K-pop boy band frontmen. Is he a vampire? And their managers keep in a state of preserved youth until they wither and burn out. Hazel eyes and sharp cheekbones and delicate features under a mass of black hair, so carelessly disarrayed in the drizzling rain that you know he has to have styled it that way on purpose. Excuse me, he says suddenly as you cross the street and keep going into the shadow of an alley. Before I start taking down a statement, I'd like to ask for your pronouns. He's a polite vampire. I love that for him. And for us. He gives you a sheepish look, or at the very least a good imitation of one. New department policy. Sorry. Never in America. Let's see. Well, since I'm a she-her, I guess I'll pick a she-her. I usually do. Except in the last one, because I was made aware by the devs that, or by the writer rather, that there was a very fun gay romance, like M/M romance. So I played a he/him, but I think I'll just do she/her like I usually do. Is this a vampire? Hi, hi Hannah. What's your gender? Wait, are you a cop? Oh, wait. I remember noticing the distinct lack of guns when traveling in Canada versus the States. Well, that's, you know, unfortunately not saying so much. It's very unusual to see guns in Sweden. Hi. If that's who I think it is, hi. The cop nods. For a moment, you think he's about to say something more, but only for a moment. If I hope it's a vampire, I hope this is a vampire who asked for my pronouns, because that is just the greatest thing I've ever read. The light begins to fade into darkness as you follow deeper into what feels like a claustrophobic maze of alleyways. The dark shapes of abandoned and crumbling buildings seem to press in from every side as your nostrils are filled ever more with a steadily strengthening stench. The sharp odor, that's how you know a Canadian wrote it, because of the British spelling, of decaying garbage and the distant salt smell of the sea. Where is this cop taking you? He seems to know where he's going. He certainly hasn't stopped to catch his bearings once. He simply walks on with the self-assured forward momentum of a man who knows nothing can stop him from going where he wants to go, or doing what he wants to do. And what he wants to do, that's becoming a question you have no good answers for. He might say he just wants to ask questions, but so far he's only asked one, and you haven't seen him take any notes either. Something's up. You might not... Really? You think so? You might not have thought so before, but you're getting more and more sure of it now. Why? I have to ask you some questions, but I'm going to take you extremely far away from where all the other people are and get you alone and isolated. Is that suspicious? The cop's voice pulls you out of your thoughts. What? Your name, he repeats. I need to have your name for the record. I don't want to tell him my name. If I'm getting suspicious, I don't want to tell him my name. Remain completely and pointedly silent. Now I'm going to get bratty and see what he does. See, this is the problem. I think I always attempt to do this right. I always attempt to make really good decisions. And then very quickly I decide, yeah, but what if I did this? And I think it's because I don't get to actually like play the tabletop as a player enough that I don't get to make these decisions. So I sort of live it vicariously through choice of games. About to be a Vamp Cop Happy Meal? I mean, I'm excited. Bite him, flip the script. I would if I got the option. Seems like the normal amount of sus for a copper. That's fair enough. He's stealing my name and pronouns because he's a changeling? Hannah, did you just write my Changeling 5th game? Kidding. There is no Changeling 5th, much to my chagrin. For a moment, he waits expectantly for an answer. For a moment, you expect him to at least show a flash of anger. You know enough about cops to know they don't like being stonewalled. But this one doesn't seem to care. He simply shrugs in the face of your silence. Fine, have it your way. We're almost done here anyway. He stops for a moment as he pulls something out of his pocket and raises it to his lips. A crucifix? No, some kind of bottle. When he turns and speaks again, his voice seems different somehow, fuller, more firm, more compelling. I need you to come a bit closer. Let's fucking dominate. Oh, why is this grayed out? How could I have gotten this? If I had been more like obstinate from the start, would I have gotten this one? Might as well. You step forward despite yourself, your eyes fixed on his as if you had iron braces holding your face steady. In the back of your head, a voice is trying to catch your attention, to tell you something is off, something is wrong, that there is no way this cop is on the level, and that there is no way you should be following his orders. But your feet aren't listening. They take another step forward and then another and another until you are well within arm's reach, almost close enough to touch, close enough to smell the faint trace of expensive cologne, and to feel the complete absence of where the warm exhale of his breath should have been. Vampire cop? Thin blood cop? Did he just take formula? Oh, maybe. Oh, that's such a good observation. I'm sorry. I'm so just taken aback by the idea of vampire cop. I just can't get over it. No, C5 confirmed. I think, Jerry, every time we've done these, somehow we get around to talking about Changeling, or I mention it or something. Deep inside you, some bond, some unseen fetter breaks. That voice in the back of your head is all you can hear now, and it is screaming for you to get away. At last you listen, stumbling back on the heels of your feet, just as the cop leans in towards you, his eyes flashing red, his delicate features twisting into a snarl of vicious feral hunger, his jaw unhinging wide and his lips peeling back to reveal the glistening razor tips of 4 long fangs. Ooh. Not 2, but 4. We get, double our money for this. Start punching. Hiya! No. All right. Come on, please. We're not going to start punching someone with fangs in their mouth. Try and talk him down. Okay. These are the 2, extreme options that that the inside gremlin in me desperately wants to do. But I'm going to do this one because I can't. Beast of Glenkildove was my shortest run of any Choice of Games game because I really leaned into making the silliest decisions, and it really did get me killed so fast. Keep my distance. You take a step back, then another, trying not to stumble over the uneven pavement, trying not to make eye contact. You don't know what this guy wants, but it's pretty obvious that it's not going to be anything good, and it's even more obvious that you're not going to be able to fight him off or escape unless you get his voice out of your head. And you can still hear it, his voice reverberating in your skull, telling you, no, commanding you, to stop running, to stand still, to stop struggling. But you're not that stupid. Listening to that voice is a death sentence. You drown that voice with your own, letting your own fear fill your brain with white noise. Scream yourself to safety, girl. Your attacker's features twist in frustration, his glowing eyes narrow. That was a mistake, he says, that same soft voice now filled with an obvious menace. You could have made this easy on yourself. You could have made this painless. Before you even know what's going on, he's dashing forward, his arm lashing out towards you like a whip. The next instant, you're on the ground, 3 meters away, your limbs entangled in a pile of stinking, oozing trash bags. Your attacker closes in faster than any human body ought to be able to, his hand closing around your neck like a vice grip. You should have listened to me when you had the chance. His jaw unhinges again, and you see the hunger in his pitiless red eyes as he lunges for your throat. Did I die already? Wouldn't surprise me. Hey, asshole! Your attacker turns just in time to find himself facing the bent end of a crowbar, swinging right for his face at high speed. The blow lands with such force that it sends your attacker staggering under the weight of it, enough to release you from his grip. You gasp as his fingers release your neck, forcing desperately needed air into your lungs, as your assailant drops to his haunches, turns with a snarl, and sends a clawed hand lashing out towards the new threat. This doesn't seem like a Thin Blood to me. This seems very Gangrel-like to me, but that would just be me reading too much into it. Although, in Blood Sigils, I believe that there are some Thin Blood out, I can't remember the specifics of it at the moment because I'm dumb, but there's some Thin Blood formulae that can be given to full-blooded vampires, and there's some sort of chart in Blood Sigils where you can roll and see what fun effects it has. Oh, good. Start punching the Bruja way, yeah. Honey Storyteller voice activated. Okay. Sorry, I totally lost what I was doing. Clawed hand, that's what took me out of it. But it only meets empty air. The steel of the crowbar flashes in the dim light and swings out again. This time it misses your attacker's shoulder by a hair, sending him back up another step, and whoever's swinging it doesn't let up. Again and again, that steel bar swirls through the fetid air so fast that you can hear it sing with every arc, driving your attacker back again and again, step by step, until with one last scream of frustration, he turns and leaps up to a hanging fire escape ladder with an inhuman agility. A moment later, he's gone, disappeared into the darkness, leaving you alone with your rescuer. Is he cute? As you catch your breath, you finally get a good look, not just at the crowbar, but at the man holding it. A surly square jaw under a tangle of black hair, well-muscled arms, hidden almost completely by loose cargo pants and an ill-fitting jacket. "Hey, get back here, you little shit!" he yells, frustration tinged with an unsteady, almost unhinged quaver. "We're not done yet." He waits for a long moment, crowbar still in his hands, his weight shifting uneasily from one foot to the other as he stands expectant of a reply. But all he gets is the sound of distant traffic and the far-off roar of a passing sky train. What's a sky train? That sounds fun. The crowbar drops to the pavement with a clatter. "Fucking coward," he mutters dejectedly. "Fucking coward, just like me." Okay. And he's self-deprecating? Hi. It's only then that you smell the stink of alcohol and on his breath. Oh, and he's alcoholic? Alright. Hang on. Let me fix my hair. I'm fine. Hey, are you okay? You want to talk about it? Twitch Mobile's the worst, Hannah. Yes, Huddifer. Yes, Begvin. Huddifer, please. I'll get to begging if they give me an option. Your rescuer looks down at himself for a moment, even as he sways back and forth. Me? Nah, probably not. But then his eyes swing up towards the dark mass of the buildings around you, towards the direction in which your attacker fled. Probably still doing better than him, though. Your rescuer holds out his hand, letting the rain patter against his palm for a long moment. "Fuck, rain's picking up." He turns to you again. "Got a place to stay, kid?" You think back to your tent back at the encampment for a moment, but only for a moment. Chances are the cops will have long since packed up your belongings for disposal by now. You shake your head. "Then it looks like you're in for a rough night," your rescuer replies before stopping himself. For a few seconds, he seems torn between two possible things to say. Finally, with a sigh, he picks one. I know some people you could stay with, probably only for a night, but it's dry, it's warm, and it's not full of blank bodies in cop uniforms trying to use you as a juice box. Follow me if you want in." I can't be friendly! Why? I wanna be friendly. It has to be safer than out here, I guess is what I will say. Instead of being overly enthusiastic to follow him around. Honey, you're being very relatable right now, and this mirror you're holding up to me is a lot. Another interactive novel? Yeah. Hair tuck. Is there only one bed? Well, he's not even taking me to his house. He's taking me to some random people's house. As a rule, you try not to follow unhinged drunk strangers you run into dark alleys, but what exactly are your other options here? You can't go back to the encampment, it probably doesn't even exist anymore. By the time the sun comes up, the cops will have taken away your tent and all the belongings you left behind, leaving only bare grass, just like how the city and the local property owners like it. You can't stay out here either, sleeping in the open in the rain alone with nothing but what's in your backpack and the torn up clothes you've been wearing for the past day and a half would be a terrible idea, even if there weren't some kind of superhuman blood-sucking monster after you. Besides, this particularly unhinged drunk stranger did kind of save your life. Maybe you can trust him just a little. But this particular unhinged drunk stranger also isn't waiting for you to make up your mind. He's already turned and started walking away. With no better options, you take in a deep breath and follow. You've reached a checkpoint. Would you like to save your game or load a previous checkpoint? No, I will save my game, thank you. I don't remember getting these before, but this might just be because this is the full version of the game. I was meant to receive the demo, but I got the full version, and it's probably not entirely finished. Actually, it's definitely not entirely finished. So yeah, we'll just save it right there. Save my game. Okay. How do I get past this? Okay, continue the story. I'm just dumb. Don't mind me. Yeah, normally here there'd be like a little thing that would let you know the chapter, and it would have like a little thing, like a quote of some kind. So I don't know, if I'm going past where the actual demo goes, but here we go. Here we go. You need a polycule cell? Van, listen. Let me talk to you about that sometime. Hunter Cuddle Puddle? Being homeless, a bed is a bed. That is so true. That is so true, but also you do have to be even more, you do have to be very careful about whose bed you're laying in. How are you using those company contacts to get the game early? No, it was a mistake. It was a mistake. I think it was either a miscommunication on my part or a misunderstanding on Jason Hall's part. Either way, but either way, I will be playing this when it releases. It releases on November 17th, by the way. So I will be playing this when it comes out. So Jason just skipped a step, and it's fine. We love him for it. Act 1, The Edge of Darkness. The glare of high beams and the hiss of tires on wet asphalt assaults your senses as you follow your rescuer out of the narrow maze of alleys and into the noise of Hastings Street. Even as the rest of Vancouver sleeps, the Great Artery is a river of lights, full of cars driven by night shift workers downtown, interrupted only by the throaty roar of the occasional night bus going east, bringing its cargo of drunk university students to their parents' homes in Burnaby and Coquitlam. I'm not sure how to say that. There are even still people on the sidewalks, lonely figures on midnight walks, small groups of revelers making their way home from this restaurant or that local pub, the occasional security guard in their bright yellow vests emblazoned with the horse head of Cavalier Security. More than once, a curious set of eyes wanders towards the two of you, but not for long. Your rescuer always answers with a glare which seems to pierce even through his drunken haze. Fewer eyes on us, the better, he mutters, in what you belatedly realize to be explanation. Blank's got eyes everywhere, turn normal people into their lackeys, make them drink their blood, turn them into slaves, he snarls. They still look like us, they still got pulses and can go out in the sun, but they're working for the enemy. They don't have any choice anymore. You wonder how much he's had to drink tonight. How did you... Okay. You never told me your name. No, I didn't, your rescuer replies with an air of gruff nonchalance, as if he thinks doing so would be a mistake. Maybe he thinks it would. So? What is it? He turns and gives you a flat, bleary look. Why do you want to know? It'd make talking easier. That doesn't prove anywhere near as convincing as you thought it'd be. You first, he replies. Set your first name. So even before Hannah Marie artwork during the chat, I was planning if I got the chance to name the character, because in Book of Hungry Names, I chose a pre-made name, just cause. I was planning on naming the character Hannah, so I'll do it a little different. I'll leave that off. How's that? That better? It was already my plan. Except my last name. Oh, goodness. Well, my maiden name is this one, so that's gonna be your name. There you go. Wilson Royce, if you want to get official about it. All right, nice to meet you, Will. If I give you a nickname, is that cool? He lets out a noise that is halfway between a snort and a grunt. Give it a week, then come back to me on that. Before he can reply, he turns around and keeps walking. Whatever. With every step, the city around you seems to deteriorate. The sidewalks become more worn and cracked. The lights become less frequent. More and more of the storefronts are closed off from the street with steel shutters or iron bars. Even the cars along the road seem to be speeding along faster and faster, as if trying to get through this part of the city as fast as they can. The people on the sidewalks have changed too. There aren't any security guards out anymore, and nobody walks alone. Here and there, you see human bundles tucked away in alcoves and doorways, faces poking out of tightly wrapped sleeping bags grimy with rain and dirt. Some of them, the ones still awake, nod to Will as he stumbles past. Once or twice he nods back or mutters something to them. Most of the time he only staggers onwards, not seeming to notice at all, lost in his own thoughts. I don't want to say, are you okay? You seem drunk. I know he's drunk. I'm not judging him for that. I love having Huddy read me a story. I wish I was all cozy with a hot cocoa and a blankie. Are you at work, Hannah? I don't know if they would appreciate it if you did that. If Batman was a drunk hunter, he just found his Robin. Oh my god! I love that. I love that we evolved into Valley Girl to flirt with this man. I named the character Hannah, which I had already planned to do, in case there wasn't an option to, like, a pre-gen character name. If there's a pre-gen character name, I usually pick one of the pre-gen names, but there wasn't an option. I always come with a backup. Alright, I don't want to ask him if he's drunk. How did you know what to do back there? Like, what's your story? What? When you take a moment to find the right words. When that thing attacked me, it seemed like you knew exactly how to fight it, even with just a crowbar. How did you learn how to do that? For a moment, Will doesn't answer. He just keeps walking. You hear him mutter something under his breath. Huh? I said I don't want to talk about it. No, I insist. Tell me. I'm not gonna do the Lord of the Rings line. No, tell me. Come on. Listen, Suddenly he whirls around, eyes narrowed, a dull and rising anger behind them. Listen, kid, if you want to keep asking me questions, we're going to set some boundaries. Oh no, we love a king with boundaries. One of those is not pushing me when I tell you that I don't want to fucking talk about something. We clear? You nod. Good. Refer to my previous answer. He doesn't wait for a reply before turning around and walking onwards. The further... I'm normal. I might actually steal the name Robin for this one now. That's a good name. If I had noticed that before, I would have absolutely picked Robin. Rancid. Vin, you love it and you know it. The further you go, the worse things seem to get. By now, the buildings on either side press in like dark shadows, pierced only by the occasional bright window. Only the street lamps peel back the rainy gloom, throwing wan light on boarded up storefronts and doors, on clusters of desperate people huddled in whatever shelter they can find, on drivers with eyes locked straight forward as if trying to ignore the state of the world to either side of them. You haven't left the bad part of the city since you'd gotten to the encampment an eternity ago. But you've never gone to the worst part of that bad part until now. Will doesn't seem bothered in the least. If anything, the increasing decay seems to work some of the tension out of his shoulders. Ooh. He breathes easier, his eyes settle. To you, this is new and unsettling territory. To him, this place is home. Oh god, why is that my option? What? Are you drunk? You sound like you're from out of province. At least I offer this here with the not American spelling of offense. I don't want to ask if he's drunk. It's so rude. He's obviously drunk. We don't need to bring it up. He's so mean. Yeah. That's basically what I'm doing. I'm doing the hair tucks. I bet we could fix him and or make him worse. God, I hope so. That's because I am, Will replies. I'm from Laird, tiny-ass little town north of Saskatoon. Saskatoon? That's halfway across the country. How'd you get here? Will shrugs. Oh, how'd you get here? Such a good question. That's a long story. I'm not really from here either, which I'm going to say because I don't know anything about Canada. I'm surprised I knew how to say Saskatoon because I've heard it before. Will grunts. Running away from your problems too, huh? You suppose that's one way of putting it. Not like you were living in a tent in a public park by choice. You'll get used to it. What? Not being rooted to one place, not having to be tied to the same people, the same streets, he explains. It's hard the first few times, but you figure things out, and then you stop tying yourself down to people and things you know you're going to leave behind in a week or a month or a year anyway. You stop letting people and places sink their hooks into you, and it stops hurting when you have to pull them out. Sounds like a smart way to live. I can change that. Well, lets out an approving grunt. I don't know if it is, but it keeps you from being hurt any more than you have to be. That's plenty enough for me. Maybe it'll be enough for you too. Will raises his arm in front of you as the two of you reach an intersection. Cross here. We don't want to keep going forward. Trust me. For a moment, you consider the idea of asking why, but he is already mashing the crosswalk call button, drawing out nothing more than a mechanical wait from the unfeeling metal speakers with every press of the flat steel circle. Not that it stops him from pressing it again and again, as if doing it will make the red palm turn into a white stick figure any faster. Wait. Finally, the light turns yellow. Will walks forward onto the street. For a split second, it looks like you're about to have to rescue him from getting hit by traffic. But the instant his foot hits the asphalt, the light turns red. The cars hiss to a stop with a half a meter to spare. Come on, he growls. You following? Or are you planning just standing there? Why do I have to ask him if he's drunk? Why? Good thing he carries a melee weapon. A drunk with an Uzi could have gotten messy. I mean, yeah, but what a way to go out. So well adjusted. The wait sound all of a sudden made my brain go, lizard, that's exactly how I was doing it. Lizard. That's exactly what I was doing in my head. I've never seen a crosswalk light that talks. The ones that we have just buzz when they're ready to go. I would probably spend too much time at those cross lights if they talk to me. I don't want to ask him if he's drunk. This is such a thing. Why? Yeah, why do I care? I don't care. Will stops walking and turns around to face you, puffing his chest up. Well, as a matter of fact, I am. Why the fuck do you care? I don't care. I don't care. Sorry, I brought it up. I literally had no choice in the matter. Good, Will replies brusquely. Just because I got problems doesn't mean you're entitled to know about them. They won't stop me from getting you somewhere safe and dry with all your blood still inside you, and as far as I know, that's all you need to care about. It's not all I care about, but thanks. You resist the urge to let out a sigh. Sometimes it's just better to leave things alone, and this is definitely one of those times. The last thing you need is to piss off your only guide through this part of the city, even if you hadn't already seen him fight off a supernatural killer with nothing but a crowbar and foul language. But he doesn't seem to have given it a second thought. Already, he's turned around and started walking off again, leaving you behind to follow. You follow Will away from the noise and the glare of the main artery, deep into a series of narrower and narrower alleys. The light fades and the smell of rotting trash and spilled oil returns, this time joined by the salty scent of the sea. Once or twice you catch a glimpse of the shimmering obsidian surface of Burrard Inlet, peeking through the darkened buildings. You hear the patter of the rain against the garbage bags, the splash of your shoes as they step through a puddle, a high voice screaming obscenities and fury echoing somewhere through the maze of buildings. Belatedly, you realize that you have no idea where the hell you are, but Will does. For all his unsteadiness, he seems to know exactly where he's going. He turns this way and that unhesitatingly, as if running on nothing but muscle memory. Oh. How are his muscles? How do they look? For a while, you almost start to wonder if he's just fucking with you. Then he leads you out of one last alley and out into the open. Before you stands an immense block of brick and masonry, looming over the buildings around it like a monolith. In the gloom, you make out boarded up windows under stone arched frames and carved stone trim. A gigantic vertical sign hangs precariously over a recessed entrance, its once bright paint ragged, its neon lettering long dead. Will doesn't even break stride. He simply reaches for the handle of the front door, once probably glass, now almost entirely plywood. He yanks it open to reveal a dim glow beyond. "Come on," he says, as he stops to look back over his shoulder. "You coming? I mean, maybe in the future. That'd be pretty sweet." Sorry. Everyone leave the chat. I'm terrible. You step into the darkened corridor, suddenly feeling very warm as the wet of the outside makes its absence apparent and the door creaks shut behind you. Your rescuer leads you down a long, wide hallway. To both sides, you can see a faded rectangle mounted on what were once ornate frames, bare wood showing under the flecks of cracked and crumbling gilding. Here and there, the paper inside retains just a little bit of faded color or the barest hint of a word, an object, a face. Your wet shoes drip onto a soft carpet, which you suspect used to be red once and probably a lot less threadbare. Once this place had been something grand, something magnificent. Now only remnants of that long ago age remain. The once fine paneling is cracked and warped. Bundles of jury-rigged wiring snake over once elegant walls. The dark outlines of chandeliers hang from the vaulted ceiling, their crystal ornaments still there, but dead and dark under a thick coat of dust. The only light comes not from above, but ahead, a brightened rectangle at the end of the wide corridor. There you see the outlines of curtains, balconies, a stage, and beyond, you hear voices. Talking to a crosswalk light? How refreshingly Malkavian. Yeah. It's WoD. You're not playing it right if you're not making dirty jokes. That's all I do. In and out of WoD. I'm very big, huge fan of dirty jokes. I'm having the best time at the Renaissance Fair. Thank you, Anna. The room had been an auditorium once. There's little doubt about that. The second you step through the doorway, you take in the dark outlines of seats assembled like soldiers on parade. To the sides, sweeping balconies still bearing a faded coat of pastel paint and still glittering with dusty filigree. Above, a high roof, like one from an opera house, sagging, crumbling at places collapsed enough to see the roof timbers beyond, but still arching gently down to the rusting metal frames over the stage from which the shapes of stage lights still hang. Only one of those lights is on right now. It lays a soft pool of brightness over the top of a wooden stage. In it, you see two young women sitting in rusting steel chairs, one pale in an oversized sweater, the other dark in clothes which fit so closely that they might as well have been tailored. The one in the expensive outfit looks up. With a single motion, she bounds out of her chair. With another, she leaps off the stage and heads for you and your rescuer. All right, who is this? Will, you okay? We were worried you might have run into the cops and, had the same kind of trouble as last time. He's my man. Your rescuer shakes his head. Don't worry about me. The shit I've broken, you're not gonna fix. He waves brusquely at you. Look over the kid first. I found him about to get turned into a juice box by a blank. Excuse me, a hiccup. The pale girl's eyebrows rises. So what happened? Will grabs two chairs from what used to be an audience arena, leaving clouds of dislodged dust behind him. He sets one in front of himself, back to front, and the other in front of you. Hello, fellow kids, as I turn this chair around. Sit down, kid. Story time might take a while. Tabernac. Oh no, that's not him. Tabernac, breathes the pale young woman, who's introduced herself as Fleur-de-Lis. I hate her already. As Will finishes recounting how you got there. I'm not like other girls. My name is Fleur-de-Lis. My name is Senorita Awesome. You attacked him with a crowbar alone? You should have called us in for help instead of going all Gordon Freeman on his ass. Half-Life reference. Who the fuck's Gordon Freeman? That's besides the point. The other woman, Mandy, interjects. My name's Amanda. Not Mandy. It was risking taking on a bloodsucker by yourself like that. We weren't that far away. You could have brought us in. 3-on-1 aren't great odds, but they're better than 1-on-1. Old Sheng wanted us. Fuck what Sheng said, Will replies, his words more resigned than angry. You already did your part in setting this op up. If I pulled you in, I'd have put you at risk. I end up in a body bag? That's no big loss. Morgues are full of guys like me. Fuck-ups like me are expendable. Kids like you, who can still make something out of themselves, you ain't. Mandy reaches out, setting a hand on your rescuer's shoulder. Hey, you shouldn't shit on yourself like that. It's gross and it smells. She says softly, We're a team, and you're someone who we can't afford to lose. No more unnecessary risks, all right? You were lucky to get out of that unharmed, and our friend here is lucky to be alive. And as you realize, lucky to have all three of the people sitting with you inadvertently looking after your survival. As far as you can tell from what they said, your rescue had been a team effort. Mandy had been the one to come up with the idea that someone would be attacked during a raid on the encampment. Fleur-de-Lis had been the one to find out when the raid was happening. Will had been the scout, picking out the most likely places for an attack, and making sure one of the three of them had been nearby, which meant your rescuer had been at the right place at the right time, just as you needed the rescue the most. But that still doesn't explain how they knew about the thing that attacked you in the first place. Whew. So much reading. Uh-oh, competition! See, if they made Half-Life 3, he could have known the name. It's true. Whole chat is in the game. Oh my god! Hi, Mir. Hi. Sorry, name was blending. There's too much yellow in here, and with my color blindness, I'm having difficulty reading it. Too many yellowing colors in the chat. Oh, thank you for joining us for the stream. Thank you. It'll go up on YouTube for anything that you miss. The answer to your unstated question comes a moment later with the clicking of a battered aluminum cane against the worn wooden floor of the stage. Its owner is a gnarled old man, not older, genuinely old, with skin like leather and a beard like snow, under an old-fashioned flat cap and a faded but well-maintained jacket. You've all made it back safely, he asks, his strong and confident voice all out of proportion to his small frame. The other three nod, their conversation evidently forgotten. Regardless of their disagreements and differences, there is one thing they have in common. Whoever this old man is, they respect him a lot. But he passes them by with only a cursory inspection and an approving nod. No, he is headed for you. Yay! So let me guess, you found our new arrival being attacked and sought to effect a rescue? Maybe, Will replies. Maybe it was just instinct. Spent too long dusting blanks to not react. Guess I was on autopilot or something. The old man smiles. Wilson Royce, you give yourself too little credit. You are a better man than you think you are. He turns to you, looking you over with lively eyes that seem to be just on the verge of smiling. Now then, as for you, my young friend, do you understand what attacked you? What's with the third degree? Something fast, strong, and not altogether natural. Indeed, a creature which very few have survived, even with the promise of imminent rescue, the old man notes, his eyes lit with approval and respect. This means you are either very resilient, very resourceful, very fortunate, or perhaps all three. We could certainly use someone like that. Use someone like me for what exactly? As one of us, the old man. Is this a cult? The old man replies, extending his hand to encompass the three others. As defenders of the people from those who would prey on them, as the protectors of those who cannot protect themselves, as the hunters of the monsters in the dark. We fight to keep people safe from creatures like that bloodsucker who attacked you, Mandy adds. Fleur-de-Lis nods. Sometimes that means trying to figure out their weaknesses, or making sure people are out of danger. Sometimes that means scaring off the bastards with bluffs and tricks. And sometimes that means picking up a crowbar and beating the ever-loving piss out of them, Will replies. Whatever it takes to get things done. My name is Zhang Li, the old man concludes, and we are hunters. Ba-da-ba-boom! There'll be a music sting there. So let me get this straight. You reply after throwing everything you've just been tossed back and forth in your head for a moment. That thing that attacked me back there, there's more of them out there and they've always been there? Mandy nods, like learning that Santa Claus isn't real for the first time, isn't it? Or learning that he is, that there's whole swarms of him and he's a fucking serial killer who turns people's skins into lampshades. Ed Gein, and you and you guys go out in the middle of the night to fight these things? If we can find them, Fleur-de-Lis responds. I'm not gonna lie, most of what we do is try and find them in the first place. Usually that's enough to make them run. But if they turn around and beg for a fight, then we sure as hell intend to give them one, Will concludes grimly. And you want me to join you? All four of them nod. That's a hell of a decision to make on the spur of the moment. The old man nods slowly in agreement. You are not wrong. No doubt you have had a very exhausting night. Your first priority should be rest. In the morning, we will take you to see our patron. Oh my god, is this a cult? And then we will see where we go from there. Tomorrow? Why not now? Hello. Do you understand who attacked you? Yeah, cop. That option wasn't there. I can't believe Hunter content makes me want to play Hunter. I know, isn't that wild? The subliminal messaging. The subconscious advertisement. You have to play with these extra plus if it was Honey and Others. Oh my god. I'm not a voice guy. I can't. My voices all sound very similar because I can't. I'm not super talented like the voice actors in the chat here. Sheng smiles. You are not without initiative. Very good, but let us not go from eagerness to haste. The kind of decision we are asking you to make is one you will want to make with a clear head, and I am sure the events of the night have exhausted you to the point where that might be a little difficult to maintain. He's got a point. You could have used a decent night's sleep even before all of this happened. After the ordeal of fighting for your life against a blood-sucking monster and a long walk through the cold and the rain, you're almost ready to fall over. So then, the old man continues, let's see about getting you a good night's rest. He reaches out to pluck at one of the ragged tears cutting itself across your shirt. You might have made it through the night without getting hurt, but your outfit is a different story. We will need to find you some new clothes. The next morning sees you being led, still bleary-eyed, down a set of dusty hallways lit only by the sun filtering through the cracks of the boarded-up windows. You'd spent the night in what you think used to be a makeup room with an old air mattress and blankets set up on the counter where stage actors once powdered their faces and readied their hair for crowds of theater goers probably now long dead. It was hardly a luxury hotel room, but it had been quiet and dry, and the beaten-up old bedding had been 100 times softer than the bare ground. The moth-eaten blankets 1,000 times warmer than the clammy plastic of a sleeping bag. Yeah, well, I'm glad I didn't take that anyway. You slept like a corpse, and even with the sun high in the sky, you still feel half dead as you shamble down the ratty carpeted hallway. The theater left all its costumes behind when it was abandoned in the 90s, Sheng explains, as he leads you towards a pair of heavy double doors, their frames gray with caked dust. Too busy hunting, we don't have time to dust. Unfortunately, we have not had the means to keep them in the best condition, and they are obviously not the height of fashion. But I'm sure you'll be able to find something useful in your size. We still have quite the selection. You're literally a professional. Professional lich. Is this a vampire's angry ghoul who hasn't gotten to be embraced as the patron? I mean... Sounds like a good plot twist. I'm into it. I'm not... The demo goes to the end of this chapter. Thank you, Jason. Hey, this is Jason Hill from Choice of Games in here. I attempted to have the demo and to play the demo, but it wouldn't let me. As long as I have this game attached to my Steam account, it absolutely wouldn't let me play the demo. It kept saying, no, 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 you're not allowed. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. You're too sleepy to become a hunter at the moment. Amir, you've never played Werewolf? Really? You gotta play Werewolf, dude. Not me, though. Werewolf is the game I struggle with the most being a storyteller. Hit up Avery. Avery loves Werewolf. He's not kidding. Very little of the costume room's past grandeur remains. Its walls... Actually, wait, hang on. Play, if you really want to get into Werewolf, play Book of Hungry Names. It's got to be some of the best Werewolf the Apocalypse media out there, which is also a Choice of Games game. It's so good. I played it like 6 times. It's amazing. And one time on stream where I made all the silly decisions, and then I played like a serious amount privately to actually try and not die and not get everyone killed. Very little of the costume room's past grandeur remains. Its walls are battered and in disrepair, the floor creaks with every step, and the room's contents are far from pristine. Some have already fallen apart entirely, sitting in sad, dusty piles on the floor. Others are on the verge of joining them, riddled with holes and held together with only a handful of distended and fraying stitches. Others still would have been completely unsuitable for streetwear even in their prime, and are now even more so. The once gaudy costumes of kings and princesses and swashbuckling heroes, reduced to sad remnants by time and dust. The rest of the... I want to be a pirate! Let me dress like a pirate! The rest of the outfits in the room have problems too. Some are too big, some are too small. Goldilocks, some are so hopelessly out of style that you'd be better off going around naked. Come on. Nah. Let me wear like a fully corseted ball gown. But holy shit, are there a lot of them. The racks of clothes seem to go on forever. Entire rows of coats, shirts, pants, hats, leather jackets and skinny jeans, cocktail dresses. Yeah, cocktail dress. Schoolgirl blouses. Cocktail dress and a tricorn hat. So I'm like a pirate in a cocktail dress. Top hats, berets, tricorns, troblees, combat boots, and ballet shoes. Yes, and ballet shoes. Perfect. You even find a rack of swords, though a closer look reveals them all to be disappointingly plastic. Even if 1 in 10 items in this room is still in a condition to be worn, you'll find something. Question is what you'll be looking for. Okay, so this is just for the pronouns thing. Yeah, feminine, I guess. Can I pick and choose? Can I be a pirate can I be like a tricorn hat and like a little black dress and ballet shoes and then like a leather duster? Is that not a fit? I think so. I like that very much. Oh my goodness. I know you love the Werewolf game, Hannah. I struggle running Werewolf. It's the one I resonate with the least. Play Werewolf once it was experienced and wants me to play it without a problematic player. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. I loved Book of Hungry Names. Such a good game. Such a good... Sierra did manage to survive, so there was that. I mean, yeah, Sierra survived. I can't say too much about the other people who were part of the game. It's so worth it, Amir. Book of Hungry Names is so good. He meant the end of the chapter after the next one. Okay. Dressing like a pirate is never out of style. Thank you. Fate plot, pirate the dreaming. Down. I'm down. I'm so down. It's actually not much of a problem to find feminine clothes in the costume room. In fact, after a few moments, you start to realize that the vast majority of the clothes in the costume room are feminine. After a few moments more, you kind of realize that's the real problem. Sure, they may be all over the place, but they're also precisely the kind of clothes you can't exactly wear. Yes, I can! Stop telling me... Stop dictating my fashion sense. Dusty cocktail dresses, moth-eaten evening gowns, big heavy coats made out of big heavy furs. Clearly this theater's costumers had clothed more glamorous femme fatales and fainting ingenues than anyone who might actually have to work for a living. Sure, it'd be fun to pick out a few of the pieces in better condition and try them on, but the last thing you want is to be on the street in a top too tight to breathe in, or a pencil skirt so constricting and high heels so precarious that they'd make walking normally an impossibility, let alone running. It takes you maybe half an hour to finally find clothes that work for you, a practical skirt and blouse, leggings to keep out the cold, and some rugged flat shoes, all in your size, and also out of style. They circle right back to merely being retro at worst. Whatever. In a city like Vancouver, that would almost make you indistinguishable at a glance from any young woman on the street, which is more or less all you need for now. You're boring. The others are waiting for you outside. Nice fit, Mandy says as she looks over your newly chosen clothes. Will looks them over with a more skeptical eye. You can run and fight in those, right? You think he's sobered up a bit over the night, but not by much. Otherwise, the only people you're going to be looking nice for are whoever finds your corpse once the blanks are done sucking you dry. Hey, chill. We're not going to get attacked anytime soon, Fleur-de-Lis interjects. It's light out, and we're moving as a group. We're as safe as it gets out here. She's gonna get more Valley Girl as I read. It's just gonna happen. Old Shang nods. Fleur-de-Lis is correct. The monsters avoid the sunlight, it burns them and causes them indescribable pain. But remember that the sun alone does not offer complete protection. There are shadows on the streets, even in broad daylight. Stay together, don't get lost. Our patron's headquarters isn't far. Who is this patron of yours, anyhow? You ask as you begin walking through the alleyways. A man of importance here. He commands wealth, influence, and the loyalty of many men and women who are good at solving their problems through violence. A Ventrue ghoul, perhaps? Shang replies, he calls himself Jangles. Jangles, what is he, a clown? Yeah. How am I supposed to trust a guy who hides behind a nickname? One of these people is Fleur-de-Lis. What the hell are you talking about? How do you get a name like that? Get a little big for your britches there. Hang on. Well, please stop this flirting. This is business. I know, right? He wants it so bad. The patron is a red flag. The first thing I thought of, Jerry, was Jangles the Moon Monkey, because I am a massive Fallout fan. A name that demands respect. Jangles. He started off selling knives to any drug dealer desperate for some private insurance. Oh no, that's Will. He started off selling knives to any drug dealer desperate for some private insurance, Will replies. Then he used the money from that to buy more knives. Then he used the money from that to buy guns. Then he used the money from that to buy up entire gangs. Évidemment, it's really easy to take advantage of people... Okay, God, hang on. It's Fleur-de-Lis. I need to read a little further to see who's talking. Évidemment, it's really easy to take advantage of principle of never take a knife to a gunfight when you are the one deciding who gets the guns, Fleur-de-Lis adds dryly. Now, nobody in downtown Eastside has a gun without Jangles' permission, and anyone who does quickly finds the police ready to correct that. He's got cops in his pocket, too? Among others, Sheng warns. I would keep my guard up around him. And this is the guy you're gonna meet. No pressure, huh? Will talks about a well-dressed corpse. So you think it's cute? You think I'm well-dressed? Jangle's headquarters turns out to look no less broken or decaying than any other building in this part of the city. A tangled block of chipped paint, broken glass, and splintered wood. Just one more dilapidated old hotel or squat or tenement in a neighborhood crammed full of them. But there are differences. For one thing, while there's people smoking and drinking and trying to sell something or other to passersby in front of every other building's doorway, this one remains entirely clear from the edge of the sidewalk to the weathered door. Second, while the windows aren't any less boarded up than the others, the wood which blocks them up is heavy construction-grade lumber rather than cheap plywood, enough to stop a thrown rock or brick for sure, maybe even enough to stop a bullet. Inside, things are even more different. The door opens to a lobby reeking with the stink of cigarette smoke. But instead of an empty desk and a row of mailboxes like what you would expect, the little room is almost packed with broad-shouldered men in big jackets, their eyes piercing and suspicious, their hands resting on the butts of handguns which you can just barely see hidden under their coats. For a second, their eyes narrow, but then Sheng says something to them, something you can't quite hear. One of the guards nods, another opens a door to a hallway and the stairwell beyond. This is super suspicious. You and the others are led up 2 flights of stairs. It's almost a surprise when you find that none of the steps creak. This reminds me of Sierra, my werewolf character in Book of Hungry Names, who's like very obviously was working for a vampire when she was a janitor. It was like super obvious from the jump. A quick look around the stairwell reveals oddly clean floors, freshly painted walls, and railings free of rust or even chipped paint. No exposed wiring, no broken lights, no mold or water stains. Someone's put a lot of money into keeping the inside of this building in much better shape than the outside. And when you reach the top of the stairs, you get an idea where that money comes from. As you're taken down one last hallway, you peek through half-open doors to see box after box of something, watched over by men with guns. In one, you catch a glimpse of polished black metal, in another, a plastic bag almost overfilled with pale blue pills. If you had any doubts about how dangerous this guy's day job is, they're gone now. Oh god. Jangles the moon monkey isn't what you expected. Given what you'd already heard about him, you'd imagine someone more imposing, more formidable, muscles and scars, tattoos and a scowl. Instead, you find yourself led before a lanky, gray-eyed man with a narrow jaw covered with stubble and a head of short hair dyed nearly white blonde. At first glance, he couldn't be more than 35. Given how quickly the stress and anxiety of living in this part of the city tends to age people, you have to wonder if he's even younger. He sits in a battered old armchair, stripped to a white t-shirt even against the cold and wet breeze which comes through the open window. The only open window you've seen in the entire building. He looks up as you and the others are led inside, setting down the small book he'd been reading carefully on the arm of his chair. "How goes, old man?" he says, addressing Zhang with the kind of laid-back familiarity of someone so powerful he no longer has to give a fuck about how he talks to other people. "Any news from my valiant hunters?" "There's been another attack," the old man replies as he steps forward. "Last night as the police swept the park encampment." "Shit, again?" Jangles leans forward, his chair creaking just a little. "Anyone I know?" Sheng shakes his head. Jangles lets out a sigh. Maybe whoever's doing this is moving on. Maybe their tastes have changed and our blood isn't good enough for him anymore. He chuckles at his own dark joke, but only for a moment. The next, his eyes narrow. "But I get the feeling that you're not done talking yet. So what's different about this one?" The old man turns to you. "This time, the victim survived." "Aren't you lucky?" "God damn, that is one banger of a story," Jangles finally says after you explain the events of the past night. "And one of you can back this up?" Will nods. "God damn," Jangles repeats, this time with a distinct note of respect. Old Sheng thinks that the guy that attacked you is some kind of supernatural monster. Personally, I think he's just some rich sicko who likes to watch people bleed out. But what he is doesn't matter to me half as much as the fact that this asshole has attacked people in this neighborhood 4 times over the past week, and you're the only one to survive. "That is why we brought her here," Sheng interjects. "I believe that she may be of help to us. As the only survivor, she can provide insights which we currently lack. I would like to make her one of us." No one tell them that I have no insight into what happened to me. No one say it. But Jangles doesn't seem convinced. "Sheng, I want these attacks stopped just as much as you do. But let's not forget something. You found this kid on the street. You've known her less than a day. She might have earned your trust, but she ain't earned mine yet." He turns to you. If you want to work with my hunters, you got to prove you're worth taking on. What if I said no? I have to know. See, this is my problem. When I get presented with absurd answers. No. I don't like your face, and your nickname is stupid. The hunters give you an uneasy look. Sheng shakes his head and lets out a regretful sigh. Jangles leans forward, a dangerous glint in his eye. Are you sure about that? Last chance to reconsider. Under different circumstances, you would have had an answer for him immediately. You didn't want any of this. You just wanted to be left alone to live your own life. You didn't ask to be raided by the cops or attacked by a no-shit actual vampire, but you didn't have a choice then. This time you do. This time all you have to do to stop yourself from being roped into working for a gang of drug dealers and gun runners is to say no. But Jangles might say he'd let you walk, but you know that there's probably a 50-50 chance that he won't let you leave the building alive. Guys like him don't end up the warlord of the downtown. This is absolutely who you'd want to work for. Of the downtown east side by being nice and letting people do what they want. He has every reason to make an example out of you if you say no, and almost no reason to simply let you leave. And that's not even counting the fact that even if he does let you make it out the front door, you'll still have added another powerful enemy to a list, which is growing way too large for someone who has no money, no reliable allies, and no place to hide. Sure, it might be possible to survive alone, but you'd have a hell of a time trying to do it. I'm not sure it's worth it. I'm in my brat era. Boston. Yeah. Do you want to play a hunting game? No. I only have so many accents, Hannah. I only got so many I can do. You're almost shocked when Jangle simply nods. All right. If that's the case, then that's it. Don't cause me any problems. Don't give my people any trouble. Don't talk shit. Do that, and we won't have any issues. Got it? You nod. Good, he turns to Sheng. Sorry, old man. Looks like this one doesn't want to join up. Looks like you're on your own. He turns back to you. We're done here. I can't believe I saved your ass last night. Oh, did you notice my ass? Just to watch you throw it away like that, Will grumbles as you walk out the door. Should have just told me to let that blank bite you. So, like, okay. So, like, you saved me from a vampire. Objectively a noble act, saving me from a vampire. But you're like, but now you have to work for us. Is this like a pyramid scheme? It's like an MLM thing? Like, you know, you're recruiting people into, you know, and then I go and save somebody and then I recruit them? What's the benefit here? For a second, you think he's going to leave it at that. Then he pivots and grabs you by both shoulders. Listen. First thing you ought to do, get yourself a flashlight. That asshole comes after you again, shine it right into his eyes, he tells you. My God, he's touching me. That'll blind him for a second, long enough for a head start, or for you to write a note about how you're sorry you didn't join us when you had the chance. The other hunters say their goodbyes, though they're somewhat more tactful with their opinion of your decision. They wish you good luck, and then they're on their way, hopeful to find the guy who attacked you last night before he finds you again. Now what? This is great. Bye, Vin. A hunter with no cell is playing on hard mode. Yeah. I still want to play in a hunter game too. Yeah, hunter is really fun. I enjoy hunter very much. He's just so in love. He can't stand to see you go. First things first, you need a safe place to live. Without shelter, nothing else you could do would matter. The fact that you lost nearly all your stuff last night serves as a painful reminder. Any notes, money, food, or tools you could gather would never be safe unless you carried it all with you. Were you someone or somewhere else, it'd be a simple problem to solve. Rent a cheap place, crash on a friend's couch, maybe move back in with your parents, but none of those solutions work for you. Your parents are out of the question. You just lost the chance to crash with the closest thing you have to friends with the couch, and renting the game is judging me. I don't care. Judge me. I like it. I'm into it. Rents have been extortionately high in Vancouver for years, and the result of a city that everyone wants to live in, but which nobody wants to build housing for. Even in the downtown east side, where the most common place to live is a tiny single room occupancy, with shared toilets and rent is charged by the week, it's enough to equal the monthly rent for full apartments in other parts of the country. It's gotten so bad that even the province and the federal government has stepped in to order more housing built, and even those new places are years off. Meaning if you want to sleep somewhere safe and warm, you'll need to scrape together more money than you've ever had. The alternative? Shit, you don't really want to think about the alternative. That would mean trying to find a place in downtown's overburdened network of homeless shelters, filled past capacity with the others who can't afford the city's sky-high rents. And if you aren't lucky enough to get a bed there, then your only choice would be the street, in the cold and wet, without even a sleeping bag to protect you from the elements. Fuck, anything but that. The worst part of it is you'll be starting from nothing. I love this. This is great. During the option is here. During your weeks at the encampment, you'd kept a small stash of money, the stuff you were able to take with you or scrape together from every single source you could find. It was a combination of life savings and emergency fund. It had almost been enough to afford a place to live, at least for a week. And now it's gone, sitting in some VPD evidence locker, leaving you with fuck all. Which means if you don't want to sleep on wet concrete tonight, you're going to have to find a way to scrape together a lot of money, and fast. I screwed myself here, which I'm so proud of myself for doing. Suffering? Maybe I can convince someone to rent me a room for cheaper. I'm super cute, and, you know, they should just do it anyway. Given the current state of the housing market, it's probably not a huge shocker how difficult it is to find a place offering any rooms for rent at all, let alone one willing to negotiate on price. The manager at the first building you talked to about it straight up laughs in your face. The second doesn't even let you finish your sentence before telling you to get out. But you keep looking, and eventually you manage to find one who not only lets you keep talking, but he seems more and more interested in what you're telling him, at least once you convince him that he's better off having someone move in today for a reduced rate than waiting who knows how long for someone to come in paying what everyone else is. In the end, wow, look at me. You're able to talk him down to a figure which is a third below the going rate. You're not going to get a better deal than that. No, all you have to do is close it. Despite all your efforts, you're still flat broke. You got to get a move on if you want a safe place to sleep tonight. But you've still got time left. You're not going to count yourself out yet. You can do this. You just need a little luck, a little hard work, and maybe a little bit of lateral thinking. Is there any honest work around here? It only takes you a little bit of searching to realize a pretty depressing truth. If honest work were easy to find out here, fewer people would have to rely on dishonest ways of making a living. Sure, there are businesses all over, even in a place as run down as the downtown east side, and some of them are even hiring. But even as the most menial jobs demand references, a phone number, a permanent address, all kinds of shit that most people wouldn't spare a second thought over, but which you aren't even close to having. The only lead on an above-board job you can find willing to hire on a short-term, no questions asked basis is a flyer about offloading trucks, minimum wage by the hour, and literally backbreaking. But it's not the only option you find. The last time you were out on Hastings Street, it was past midnight and the sidewalks were almost clear. Now they're filled with street vendors with knickknacks, watches, t-shirts, and old vinyl records spread out in front of them on stained and tattered blankets. You might not have enough stuff to set up a spot on your own, but that doesn't mean you can't try your hand at street trading. The street sellers can't leave their merchandise unattended, but you can move from one to the other freely. If you can find one vendor selling something another vendor wants, you might be able to make a profit. And then there's those teenagers hanging outside the liquor store, approaching any adult that passes by. It's pretty obvious what they're doing. If you're able to score them some booze, you might be able to demand a reward. Call it a finder's fee. It's not the most squeaky clean way of making money, but you're not exactly spoiled for choice right now, are you? I'll unload boxes, sure. When you were a kid, you used to hear people older and supposedly smarter than you say that there was dignity to honest work, no matter how menial, how dangerous, how ill-paid. They fucking lied. There's no dignity in the work you do today. That is a lie. That's a huge lie. No, this was a great decision, yeah. The flyer sends you to the rundown looking loading bay of a restaurant just a few blocks over into Gastown, a land of brick pavement, stately buildings full of souvenir shops, and elegant little eateries intended to serve the swirling torrent of American tourists vomiting out the cruise ships which dock not far off. Not that you see any of it, of course. The second you show up, you're told in no uncertain terms not to leave the loading area. Maybe the owners are afraid of the smell of Afraid the smell of poor people might offend the noses of the diners. Not that you get to see any of them either. Your boss for the day is a teenage inventory clerk who seems to pay more attention to her phone than anything else. Valid. As long as the trucks keep coming and the boxes keep getting carried off of them, you and your handful of fellow temporary workers might as well be on the surface of the moon. And those trucks do keep coming, one after the other. No sooner do you finish unloading one than another pulls in, full of more sealed plastic crates, some rattling, some sloshing, all of them heavy. Too heavy. After an hour, you can feel your arms and shoulders burning. After 2 hours, you can barely feel them at all. In theory, BC, is that British Columbia? Labor law requires you to get rest breaks every hour. But in theory, working a job like this officially requires certification and paperwork, which you will never have. So you keep loading and unloading even as your legs start to go numb. Even as you trip and fall, I assume, even as trip and fall from sheer exhaustion enough times to cover your arms in bruises and scrapes. Nobody seems to care, and when it finally ends and the restaurant owner finally comes down to pay you, he doesn't seem to care either. He simply drops a handful of 20s in your hands and gets away as quickly as he can, as if trying to spend as little time as possible, even acknowledging you exist. You leave a few dollars richer, yet feeling inexplicably worthless. We're doing really good. You've made a little money, maybe enough to eat for a few days, but you're still way off what you need to find a place to live. You know you've got to keep going if you want a safe place to sleep tonight, but you've still got some time left and you're not going to count yourself out. You can do this, you just need a little luck and a little hard work and maybe a little bit of lateral thinking. Yes, I know, you keep telling me that. Panhandling. Let's do it. So it's really come down to this. You can't really think of anything lower or more desperate than panhandling. Dumpster diving, maybe. Purse snatching? No, but even those involve some kind of effort, some kind of work. Sitting on a street corner and begging, hoping that other people are going to be nice enough to hand you a few dollars. There's really no way you can convince yourself that you're putting in work there. But you don't have a choice. You need a place to live, and that means you need money. If you have to get that money by debasing yourself like this, then that's the only real choice you have left is where you want to do it. Panhandling in the downtown east side would be pointless. Nobody has any money to give. Now, you'd have to go further afield if you want to make any real money from this. That means going west into either Gastown or the financial district to beg money off tourists and corporate suits with cash to burn. But those suits don't take nicely to unwashed homeless people begging in front of their nice glass-walled office towers and alongside their manicured gardens. Those places are swarming with corporate security and sometimes actual cops. In theory, they're not legally allowed to actually do anything too bad to you if you're caught out begging, but you're smart enough to know that's never stopped the police before. So if it's a question of risk and reward where the payout could mean getting enough money to survive the week and the cost, shit, you don't even want to think about that too hard. Stay in the tourist areas. Yeah. So where I live, a lot of people who are unhoused, who do any begging on the street, usually they are by the bakeries and the supermarkets. Because you're already, Germany for the most part is very cash based. So you already have change and stuff from shopping at the grocery store, and also you just bought food and there's someone there who needs help. As all the years I've lived in Germany compared to the years I've lived in the States, I've seen more Germans put money in a cup than I ever saw in the 15 years or 25 years I lived in the States. You're not an idiot. If panhandling in the middle of the financial district were profitable, then everyone would be doing it for just long enough to find a place to live. No, either the private security guards and cops are too much of a hassle, or it's too far away, or because somehow the people in expensive Italian suits are too tight-fisted to drop a couple of dollars into a can. There's a reason why people don't go out that far, so you don't either. You set yourself up on the edge of Gastown instead, right where all the tourists can see you. Within 5 minutes, you already have a few coins, courtesy of people who clearly weren't expecting to see a homeless beggar out here. And you quickly find out why. The people who run businesses in Gastown don't seem to like the fact that they're just a few blocks away from the city's poorest and most desperate neighborhood, and apparently they're willing to employ a small army of private security to make sure that fact stays under wraps. You barely even settled in before a slightly overweight kid in a high visibility vest with Cavalier security, you've heard them before, logo on it tells you to clear off. You move a block down and try again, only to have another kid working for another security company threatened to call the cops on you. And so it goes again and again until you start feeling less like a person and more like a pile of dog shit someone left on the sidewalk. You put up with it for an hour, maybe two, but every time you're told to go away, it wears at you a little more until finally you give up. Homeless? Sure. Dirty? Yeah. But that doesn't make you any less human, and you'll be fucked if you're going to keep letting yourself be treated like something less. You have enough to rent a place to live, at least the one you found earlier. It's probably time to go rent it out, especially given how exhausted you feel. It's been a long 24 hours in between losing almost all your stuff, almost getting killed by a literal horror movie monster, and almost getting recruited into a criminal gang, which I didn't do. You need sleep, and you're sure as fuck not going to settle for concrete or a shelter if you can afford a bed of your own. Officially, the place you finally end up renting is called a single room occupancy. It is perhaps, needless to say, hardly ideal. First of all, there's the fact that the whole room, and it is only a single room as advertised, is maybe the size of a large bathroom in a real apartment. Just wide enough to fit a single double-sized bed, and just long enough to cram a small table, a chair, and some cabinets in too. As for the bathroom itself, well, you don't have one of those at all. Your toilet, shower, and sink are all shared with everyone else on your floor, and judging by the stink you can smell from all the way across the hall, you don't think anyone bothers to clean it. And all of this isn't counting the mold in the corners, the draft? Is that how Brits spell draft? Draft coming from the one single window, the chipped paint, the peeling wallpaper, the cheap laminate floor, the Oxford spelling, I should say. The cheap laminate floor, which creaks every time you step on it, the radiator, which the manager straight up told you doesn't work, or the fact that the only artificial light in the whole setup comes from a single bare light bulb, hanging from the barely high enough ceiling from what you would suspect used to be a pull chain from an old-fashioned toilet. But what your new home does have are 4 solid walls, a roof, a bed, and a door that locks. Any one of those things would have been a relief. With all of them, you feel the safest and most secure you've been since. The wave of relief that washes over you is short-lived, replaced almost immediately by a tide of exhaustion, by the weariness of mind and of mind and body, which have been on guard for threats far, far longer than any human body was ever intended to be. Your vision is already blurring with tiredness as you check the lock on the door to make sure it actually works. By the time you hit the bed, you are already half unconscious. End of Act 1. All right, I'm actually going to stop it here. Not because I saw the, it's the smell. I saw the message that came through that was saying, like, it's actually the demo ends at the end of the next chapter. But here's the difference. When you're just reading the demo, you're not killing your voice. And my voice is dying. It's super dying. Oh god, there we go. And I can't go anymore. But this was we used draft for writing, draft for wind, and also beer. Oh, that makes so much sense. That actually makes a ton of sense. I love it. So yeah, this was the demo for Hunter the Reckoning: A Time of Monsters. The a full game is releasing November 17th. It's written by Paul Wong, a Canadian-based writer, and I'm super excited. I had such a good time playing the last Choice of Games Hunter the Reckoning game. Died super early. It was amazing. Hope to make all the same stupid decisions in this one. This will obviously be updated as they go along, so the save will probably be completely refreshed. So I will just make all these same decisions again, make all the same silly, goofy decisions again, and we'll play as Hannah later on when the game releases in fall. Yeah, it's so yeah. I'm so excited to play too. Don't kill your voice. My voice is very fragile. Oh, thank you everybody. It's been amazing. I'll see you actually really soon for something I can't say just yet, but watch World of Darkness socials. I'll see you something super soon. Thank you everyone. Have an amazing rest of your week.